everybody, what you're looking at here is my $400 AK. I got this great deal off of centerfiresystems.com, and before I go any further, I've got to thank the man, the myth, the legend who made it all possible, Mule Team 66. Man, that guy can find a deal when there's a deal to be found. That's right, I picked this up for $399. Not too bad. I actually got it just a couple days before the executive order banning the importation of Russian manufactured arms. Now there's a few pluses and minuses to this AK. This is exactly how it came right here. As you can see, there is no buttstock, but there is a tang for a buttstock. Now at $399, this was an awesome deal. You couldn't even find Wasser 10s for $399 anymore, and this one is a brand new Polish sporter from the Radom plant in Poland. Now this is chambered in 7.62 by 39, just in case any of you were wondering. Now it has some good and bad things going for it, and we're going to list those as we go from the muzzle brake to the non-existing buttstock on all the pluses and minuses that this came with for $400. Okay, starting off with the muzzle brake. This is a USA made part. It's written on here, it's just a regular slant brake. I do plan on changing that to some sort of better muzzle brake than this one. The main concern I have with this front sight is there's no notches at all telling you if it's in the center area or not. So I will have to adjust this without any guide for reference. So now let's get on to the hand guards. Now I'm going to be comparing this basically to my Polish underfolder, which I believe has a great fitment, and it's just a superb AK-47. This one has some issues compared to that, and I've never run into it before until I bought this one. First issue I have with this is that the top gas tube is loose and it wiggles. Alright, now that's not a horrible big deal, but it is something that I was concerned with. I do plan on putting on a Troy battle rail on here, which is adjustable, so it should fit tight. So this is only temporary. Now the bottom handguard here is held in by this bracket, and it doesn't really lock into place very well. It's very loose on here. You can move it a little bit, which I don't really like very much, but once again I don't think it's going to affect the overall performance of the rifle. Another concern of mine originally was this gas tube locking lever. This was extremely loose. All you had to do is put very minute pressure on it and it would just fling open. Now it's a little bit tighter. It's still very loose up here, but with a little bit of bending it became much tighter, at least when it's locked up, so that the recoil of the firearm doesn't disengage that. Now let's move on to something I actually do like quite a bit, and that's the magazine release lever. It's extra long, it's very easy to engage, and it seems to be even easier to take out a magazine. One of the major things I have a problem with is where the magazines go. The hole in the receiver here was not even at all. There's much more metal on this side than there is on this side. Plus, there was even more of a sharp point right here than there is now. I did go ahead and Dremel that on that just a little bit, and I wouldn't recommend that. I just did that because I got tired of modifying all my magazines on one side more than the other. So this is a standard Tapco slab side, smooth side magazine. Okay, and it does not fit in there. I was able to really jam it in there, and it was shaving plastic off. And it was shaving the plastic right off of here, on the back side of here, and then a little bit on the other side, but not as much. So originally what I did was I modified some of my magazines. I really didn't take off too much of the polymer here, but just enough for it to clear the magazine well. As you can see, there's still plenty of plastic right here for it to be secure and sturdy magazine. But that little bit of Dremel work on the magazine makes it fit real nice. Now, as far as I know, this is not a tap code trigger. It doesn't have any markings on the inside or the outside of the receiver on the trigger itself. But let's move on to the pistol grip. This is what came standard on it. I don't like it at all. It has a really aggravating line all the way around that is caused by the molding process, which I went ahead and dremeled off just a little bit. But I'm really not going to be using this grip. I'm going to be going with a Bakelite original style Russian grip instead. Now flipping it over to the other side, and even though I don't need it, it was kind of cool that it came with this sling mount that goes under the pistol grip. I'll be taking that off and sending that to a friend of mine. So that's the outside of my new Polish AK-47. Let's go ahead and take a look under the hood. Taking off the dust cover reveals the recoil spring, and this is pretty cool. This is not your standard AK-47 recoil spring assembly. This one is more of a piston style. There is a rod underneath this spring that has a hole that goes in it that another steel rod goes into. Let's go ahead and talk about this. This came with this rifle. This is a recoil reducing buffer. I don't really know how much of recoil reducing it does, but I hear it's really great for cutting down on wear and tear to your rifle. So taking a look at the hammer and the trigger assembly, there's a lot of work that I'm going to need to do. I'm going to have to break out the polishing supplies and really work on this trigger. When trying to charge this AK, the bolt carrier group gets hung up on that hammer quite easily, and it's going to need a lot of work to get it to be very smooth. Including the trigger itself, this is a single hook trigger, as you can see here, and when pulling the trigger, there's a little bit of a wonkiness to it. This little part right here is very gritty, and it just feels weird. The trigger actually stays back. As you see, it just stayed back right there, and I actually have to push back on the trigger to get it to go fully forward. However, it's not horrible. I mean, that first part is definitely annoying, but once you get it to right there, there's really not much more until the hammer falls. So next I want to take the bolt carrier group out. And we'll talk about that. One thing I did want to mention really quick is when I first pulled back on the charging handle, I saw little shiny looking like metal things on the piston, and with further review it was metal shavings. In fact, I took off the gas tube, cleaned it all out, and there was even some curly cues. Definitely some machining that went on here that they didn't really take care of very well. So I am glad that I took it apart and cleaned it before I took it out to the range. Another nice little extra that this came with, it appears to have come with a chrome lined barrel, so that's a plus. So here's the piston. It's not too bad, doesn't wiggle very much at all. It does have some wear already on this side, and especially on this side. Not sure how well you're going to pick that up, but right here is very worn, and I haven't shot this AK at all yet. This is just from charging the weapon a few times since I've gotten it. However, the bolt carrier and the bolt all look to be pretty good. Already got some wear here. As I said, it's really rubbing up against the hammer. Probably going to clean this a little bit better. Might end up polishing it eventually. Not really sure on that just yet. And of course, here's the bolt itself. The pin moves freely, which is nice. Looks to be good quality. I don't see anything horribly wrong with it. It does have the number right there. It did say that it was all numbers matching, but I haven't found that many numbers yet on the AK, and they're not in the place that you would expect them. There's no number on the dust cover, there's no number on the gas block, and a few places else that there should be a number, but there really isn't. However, that's not a real big deal to me. It might be to you, but hey, this was $400. Alright guys, there you go. There's my $400 AK-47 made in the Radom plant in Poland. I think it was a great buy. It's going to be a little bit of work to get it to run really smooth, but that's going to be part of the fun. And the real reason I wanted this AK-47 or another one is so that I could make one that would be comfortable to shoot for the entire family. And in order to do that, I'm going to need an adjustable stock. which means I'm going to put an AR-15 style buffer tube on here with an adjustable stock, and it's going to be collapsing or foldable. So it'll fold to the left. I could have gotten one that would fold to the right, but I chose the left just in case, because this is the first time that I've ever gotten one that's a foldable stock, and I was too concerned about that charging handle coming back and hitting the buttstock. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you stay tuned for the next one where I install the adjustable folding stock. If you did like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you later.